Welcome to Module 14 of our Intermediate Financial Accounting course. This module all about liabilities, and the specific liability we focus in on this module is bonds. Now, you would have been introduced to bonds in intro accounting, but it's worth refreshing yourself. What is a bond? And a bond is simply a big group of notes payable. You're a large company. Large companies are the only ones doing bonds, or a large organization like MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the best universities in the world, and you want to borrow a huge chunk of money, and you go to the banks, and either they don't offer you a good interest rate, you don't like the interest rate, or the terms of the loans aren't what you're looking for. And if you're a huge enough company, you can say, oh, I'll just borrow the money from investors. I'll get investors to buy my bonds. And that's what MIT did here. It says MIT sells $500 million in taxable century bonds. Earlier today, MIT sold $500 million in Series E taxable bonds maturing in 2116 and yielding 3.885%. Let's call it 4%. Okay, so first comment here is they could say sells bonds, MIT sold bonds. A different way of putting this for the accountant is they borrowed money. Like, that's what we think they did, and that's what they did do. They borrowed $500 million, and they did it in the form of bonds. Now, bonds are notes payable, but rather than just borrowing like $500 million in a chunk from the bank, going debit, cash, credit, bank loan payable, $500 million, which a big company like MIT could do, they went to investors, and they sold the bonds. They don't sell $500 million at a time, they sell them $1,000 at a time. So they borrowed $1,000 pieces. And if you look at it, $500 million, that means they sold 500,000 $1,000 notes payable. That's essentially what happened. 500,000 different people, or maybe some people bought more than one, probably lots of people did, but they sold 500,000 notes payable for $1,000 each, hence borrowing $500 million. Now, a few thoughts here. What makes bonds unique or unusual compared to notes payable is a lot of the notes payable we've looked at, the company borrows the money, a few months go by, they pay back all the money. Bonds tend to be long-term, and they can often be very long-term. You can see this one matures in 2116. So MIT borrows your money today. Let's say you give them $1 million, so you buy 1,000 of these bonds. You give MIT $1 million today, and they pay you back with interest in 2116. That's crazy, right? You're likely to be dead by then. I don't mean to be so morbid, but you're very likely to be dead by then. So why would you ever lend them the money? And a feature of bonds in our class is they're going to pay interest semi-annually. Every 6 months, they're going to pay interest. So you've lent them $1 million. They're paying, let's just say, 4% interest. So that's $40,000 per year, and it's every 6 months. So divide by 2, it's $20,000 every 6 months. And now you start to see why this might be an attractive investment. You are a retiree, you've saved your whole life, you have $1 million ready to invest in your retirement. You could, of course, buy stocks, but then you have to worry about, if you buy Apple stock, well, what happens if there's drama between the US and China? Then your Apple stock goes down, or, the president of the US does something crazy, or the president of some other country does something crazy and the stock market just tanks. You got to worry about that. If you buy MIT bonds, all you have to say is, MIT still in business? If the answer is yes, well, then I'm going to get 20 grand every 6 months for the rest of my life and into, my grandchildren's lives, right? And so it's a nice investment if you want something stable. And so that's what the attractiveness of this is. But it also creates accounting challenges for us, because there's obviously these every 6 months, there's interest payments. Now, if it was just the interest payments, there wouldn't be a chapter on this. What makes bonds even more interesting and challenging for us accountants is that there's a market for bonds. So MIT offers 4%. Maybe that's attractive to investors. Maybe that's unattractive to investors. But investors will rarely pay $1,000. They'll often pay a little extra. If there's a lot of demand for the bond, they might have to pay a little more to get in. or if it's unattractive, they might actually get the bond at a discounted price. So what happens is MIT doesn't just go to investors and say, hey, investors, give us your money. MIT will go to an investment bank like Goldman Sachs and say, hey, we'd like to borrow $500 million. Goldman Sachs will talk to its, it has high-end investors. It'll talk to its high-end investors and, pension funds and these types of investment companies. And Goldman Sachs will come back and they'll say, okay, well, we're thinking, 4%. Some negotiation will go back and forth. And in any event, Goldman Sachs tries to find the market of investors for this. Now, at the same time, MIT doesn't exist in a black hole. There's other organizations borrowing money. This is Harvard's patch. Harvard might be borrowing money at the same time. The U.S. government is borrowing money, and the U.S. government might raise or lower their interest rate to really mess with MIT. But let's say MIT is trying to borrow at 4%, and Harvard at a similar time is borrowing at 8%, and maybe the U.S. government is at 3% or some other number, right? And so investors will be choosing between these, and they'll go, okay, I think the Harvard one is like, a great investment, and I think the MIT one is a mediocre investment, right? They'll make their own judgment about how they fit in. And let's just say the investor's sort of default position would be these types of organizations, this type of debt, the market price should be, or the market rate should be around, let's just call it 6%, right in the middle. So the market for this type of bond is 6%. Harvard's offering 8%, MIT's offering 4%. Well, what's going to happen? All the investors are going to go, oh my gosh, I can't get enough Harvard bonds, right? They're going to love that. And nobody's going to want to buy the MIT bond, because they'll just invest in other things. They'll invest in U.S. government bonds. They'll invest in municipal bonds. They'll find other businesses or organizations to invest in, and they'll go, we don't want this. Not interested, right? That number sucks. And so Goldman Sachs will, with MIT, reduce the price. They'll go, okay, we're going to try to sell a $1,000 bond, but you only have to pay $950. We'll give you a discount on it. Oh, nobody wants it there, $925. They'll find the number, right? They'll find the market price. The market will find the price. And so let's just say the bond sells and people get interested at $920, meaning there's an $80 discount. Well, this $80 discount is the challenge of the chapter. And let's say the Harvard one sells for $1,050, meaning there's a $50 premium. Say. It could be, a different number. I'm making the numbers up off the top of my head. Accounting for these discounts and accounting for these premiums are the challenge. And here's why. MIT wanted to borrow $1,000. They only got $920, but they were looking for $1,000. And at the end of the bond's term, they got to pay back the full $1,000. They don't get to say, oh, I only pay back $920 because you only gave me $928. No, they got to pay back the full $1,000. Not only that, but they're making 4% interest payments on the $1,000. So every year, $40, or every 6 months, $20 per $1,000 borrowed. But this extra $80, they borrow $920, you got to pay back $1,000. That's extra interest. And that's how you should be thinking about this. So when the company borrows and the bonds issue at a discount, they have to pay back extra interest. Well, when do I recognize, now we're in accounting mode fully, when do I recognize the interest expense? Do I recognize it all at the beginning? Do I recognize it all at the end when I pay it back? And as you might guess, we recognize it slowly over time. We're going to learn 2 ways to deal with discounts and premiums slowly over time. One is called the straight line method. That's not as recommended by US GAAP, IFRS, Canadian GAAP. They don't recommend it, but it is covered in most textbooks, so we will touch on it, and it's very straightforward. You just go, well, it's an $80 discount. How many years is this bond going to be out? You divide by a number of years, and you recognize the interest over that time period. The effective interest method is more complex, and that's the one we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on in this chapter. But the key to the chapter is companies want to borrow money. They don't always go to the banks. Big organizations can borrow money through investment bankers who find investors for their bonds. And because they're finding investors and because there's a market, They don't always pay face value. They don't always pay par value for this. Dealing with discounts, dealing with premiums, that's the challenge of bonds. I hope you're up for it. I've got so many great examples of bonds. The best way to learn it, though, is to do the examples together. Let's get started. I'm wrapping up. I've run out of words. I can't wait to get going, though. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. The next video in our series is right up here. And if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.